All right, so we are back for part two of this week's episode of the Weekly Crossbar. Ellis Joshua and Coach Wink coming at you here on a rare Sunday edition of the Weekly Crossbar Podcast. And picking up where we left off back in part one, Coach Wink, I was going to get into the Bayport Islip boys game that I was at this past Tuesday. And boy, that was a doozy for sure. And it didn't look like it was going to end up turning out that way based on the way it was unfolding through the first three quarters. So, so the game was tied two apiece after the first quarter. And then Bayport, they were in control in quarters two and three, and they led 6-2 going into the fourth. So think about that. You gave up two goals in the first quarter. They were down 2-0. Then they went on a 6-0 run. We're up by four going into the fourth quarter, and then the game just kind of flipped. And Islip, they stormed back from that four-goal deficit to end up beating Bayport 8-7. They actually went on a 6-0 run of their own in that fourth quarter. So they were up 8-6. Bayport, they got a goal in the closing seconds to cut it to one. But what a rally by Islip coming back from that four-goal deficit. So a really nice win for them. And in that game, Jake DeGennaro, he was 2-1, and he actually had the go-ahead goal in the fourth quarter for Islip. Also, Jack Whitehouse, he was 1-2. Dylan Smith at the face-off X, he had a really nice day at the X. I thought Islip definitely had the edge there. Also, Dylan Smith, he had a big goal in that game as well, which I believe that cut it to one. That made it 6-5. He had a goal scoring off the face-off. So Islip, who was already gaining momentum and traction at the time, they definitely utilized that goal for sure to help them get back in the game. Defensively, Eric Heimlich, I thought he was big. The senior committed to Bryant. Also, Cal Zussi, he had a nice day defensively as well with a couple turnovers, really nice defense. And Mikey Vital in the net, he had 8 saves, and he had a big save actually when Islip, they ended up taking a one-goal lead, and Bayport had a chance to tie after forcing a turnover. And Vital, he came up with a huge stop to deny transition to keep that one-goal lead for Islip, as they were able to mount that comeback and end up winning the game. But just a really, really fun fourth quarter because, again, it wasn't looking like things were going to turn out that way. Islip, they had been kept quiet since the first quarter, but they stormed back to win that game. So really nice job by the Bucks.
Interesting. I heard the name Zussi. That's Riley's brother, correct?
Yes, yes, that is correct.
So I don't know if you know this, but Florida won their conference yesterday.
Yes, I did see that.
So Riley is going to be in the NCAA as a freshman, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. Shout out to the Zussi family.
Yeah. Um, just talking about Bayport, I guess briefly. Andrew Snyder in the net, 15 saves. So he had a really nice day in the net. I thought both goalies played very well in that game. Also, Connor Curran, he had 2 goals and 2 assists. And Jack Shanahan, the young gun, the freshman, that's Emma Shanahan's brother. He was 2-1. He kind of helped jumpstart the Phantoms after trailing 2-0, and they got back into that game and took a lead. I thought Jack Shanahan, he had a nice game for the Phantoms.
As a freshman.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Really cool. These kids playing as freshmen at the varsity level. That shows a
Yeah,
lot.
yeah, that's another thing we talk about all the time. One of the things I really enjoy seeing, and I know you as well, Coach Wink, are seeing the young guns and the underclassmen really step up for these big time varsity programs and making the most of their opportunity. And there's plenty of them doing that on the island for sure this spring.
Yeah. Getting them on the radar, baby. Getting these kids on the radar. Another Shanahan coming through. There's plenty of Shanahans. That's a big name on Long Island. Goes all the way back to their uncle. Their uncle Doug Shanahan was a great player at Hofstra back in the day. So that's the Shanahan family. They had a Shanahan at Sachem that went on to play at Notre Dame. A girl. They got Emma obviously going to Quinnipiac. The older brother who's at St. Bonnie's.
Yep.
Shout out to the Shanahans. Keep producing kids. We love watching them play. They all play so gritty, so tough. You know, the glue. They're the glue kids.
Absolutely.
You
So
did
then
double. Would you do a double header that day?
I I guess you could say it for me it was 1.5. So I made the trip over to Sayville after that game, but we did have coverage. So shout out to our guy Jack. He was over at Sayville for the Sayville Westhampton boys game. So he was there to get that game from start to finish. I got over there for the second half. So when I got there, it was an 8-2 game. And then as I was making my way onto the field, Sayville had scored another goal. So they were up 9-2 at the half. And the Golden Flashes, who've had a really nice season, they ended up winning that game 14-6 over Westhampton. So Sayville looking like they could be a playoff team this year.
Oh
Definitely.
yeah, Sayville's making noise, man. They played
Yeah.
Kings Park to a 1-goal game.
Yeah.
Don't
Kings
count
Park,
out the
West,
Golden
West
Flashes.
Islip. Yeah. Yeah, they're having a really good year. But Sayville in that game, so Tommy McCann, he had 3 goals. So he had a hat trick. Sean Casey at the faceoff X, he was in control there. Definitely had a huge advantage there for Sayville. Javen Taff, the sophomore, he was 2-2. Connor Batterberry, 2 goals, also 3 assists. Tristan Vital with 2 goals as well. Jamison Holt, 1-2. Defensively, Jake Hall, he was locked down, also had a couple caused turnovers as well. So Sayville winning that game relatively handily, but another nice win for the Golden Flashes as they look to make the postseason this year.
Yeah, you're going to be hearing about those kids in the postseason. Wouldn't be surprised. I mean, I'm going to say it's them, Mount Sinai, and Kings Park in C's with Islip and Bayport.
Yup, you have those 5 teams. Um, I mean, we'll see if Shoreham gets in. Um, it's going to be tight though, probably for the final spot.
Yeah, interesting. Very interesting. What the landscape is changing a little bit, right?
Yeah, it is. It is. That's a good point. I remember first when I first started covering games for the LILJ a few years back. Of course, with Joey Spallina playing at Mount Sinai, it always just seemed like it was their conference to lose. But now this year, it is certainly wide open for sure. Last year, Bayport reigning supreme in Class C, but I think this year is definitely the most open that it's been, at least since I've been covering games for the LILJ.
Yeah, the last 2 years it's been Bayport, with the Aiello boys and that whole crew.
Yeah,
Um,
Shoreham actually had it in 2023. They had the Suffolk County anyway. They lost in the LIC. But
yeah, but with all, yeah, Shoreham was loaded that year.
yeah. Yeah, they played Manhasset in the LIC.
We got to see some good Shoreham kids playing college this weekend, which was really cool. That was fun. That was really fun. The game for on Wednesday night at Hills was one of the most electric games. Great, great, great fan support from both
Oh,
schools, Hills and
oh,
Northport.
oh yeah, the place was packed.
It was fun. We got to stream that game. We do need to get some work on their internet at Hills. I mean, I know they pay a lot of taxes. I got a nephew who lives in that district, and I know his taxes are very, very high. So if we could throw in like maybe a Verizon internet package for the school, and get a little hardwiring going. I mean, that is a big time sports town. I mean, they had a great football team this
Yeah,
year. Ran into Mr. Filardi, who's the football coach, Coach Filardi, whose son is playing at Syracuse. Shout out to Filardi, the Syracuse lacrosse football player. I might call him a football lacrosse player because he was freshman of the camp, of their spring camp.
man,
Pretty cool, right?
that's great.
I was very, very proud to hear. I've been following his growth as a football player up at Cuse. If you ever get a chance to go on YouTube, they do a great job up in Syracuse covering their sports, and they have some great radio shows that do podcasts. and I get to keep my eyes on the boys in lacrosse and football, which was pretty cool. And you can get into about the game. You called that game, the Hills Northport game. That game started out one way, but didn't end that way.
No, it did not. So it started out with Hills getting a convincing lead on Northport. They led that game by as many as 7 goals. So they were up 9-2 at one point. And Northport, as you would expect for a team that's as talented and well coached like the Tigers are, they showed their fight and they came back. They erased a 7 goal deficit, ended up tying the game on multiple occasions, but they were just never able to completely get over that hump. And so Hills, they end up coming away with the win, 16-14. So that game was a shootout. And those are your number one and number two teams right now in Suffolk Class A. So of course, would not be surprised to see those two teams down the line again in the playoffs. Of course, last year they played in the county championship as well to a 1-goal game, which went to Hills. But yeah, it looked like at the start that Hills was going to win pretty convincingly, just the way things were turning out. But Northport, got to give them major credit for storming back, but Hills able to fend them off in the end. And how about Nick Hogan for Hills, the
Ooh.
sophomore, with a coming out party, 4 goals, and a lot of his damage was done in the first half to really help fire up Hills and ignite their offense. But what a big game for Nick Hogan. Of course, the transfer from St. Anthony's coming back to his hometown team and having a huge impact in a huge regular season game.
Yeah, Nicky was the hometown hero. Um, Obviously, everybody knows Emmy, who's at Hopkins, and Drew, who's at Tufts. I mean, Tufts could win a national championship the year. Shout out to Drew Hogan, who's playing on that great team. But he had some day. I mean, he was scoring multiple ways. I mean, he's a tough kid, great defender, great ground ball kid. But he was lighting up the goal that day.
Yeah, he really
I got
was.
They're loaded. Hills is loaded. I mean, can you imagine if Filardi did not go play
Oh,
football?
oh
What that team
man.
would look like?
Oh my goodness.
Holy! I mean, they're loaded without him. I mean, they would be overloaded.
Yeah, yeah, you just adding him back into the mix, you just make them that much better. But they're already loaded, as you said. They're still undefeated. Still undefeated on the season. Um,
Yeah, you could talk about all these kids. I mean, I'll let you talk about. I just got to talk about one kid who I love this kid. Ryan Chung is the do-it-all. He's a do-it-all lacrosse player. If anybody gets a chance to watch Hills, go onto our YouTube. You could watch the game from this. Watch number 32. You want to teach a young man or a young woman how to play lacrosse? Tell him to watch number 32 play lacrosse. There is nothing this kid doesn't. The only thing he doesn't do is play goal. He picks up every ground ball. He faces
ground
off,
balls, face-offs. He can score.
scores goals, assists the ball,
Yup,
plays defense.
defense.
There's nothing this kid doesn't do, and does it at top effort, full speed. It's unbelievable. The work, and then now he's got a little brother coming up who looks like
Yeah,
he's going to be a hot shot lefty attackman.
yeah, Daniel Chung, who also he had 2 in that game and in some big time spots too, because that was when Northport they were on the comeback. And I think actually the game was tied, and I think Chung he
Yeah,
had
put him ahead.
yeah, he put him back in front.
Yeah, I think he had an invert. I think he got a shorty coming from behind, and he stung one. I mean, Zach Marco, the kid going to Harvard again, a number
Yeah,
11. I mean, you don't hear us talking about Anthony Rayo. They did a shut on him where they put
yeah,
a defender on him to shut him. But I got to tell you something. That's another kid who will do anything. I mean, he's an all-world player. That's a kid who will get a trial for the USA team whenever that is, because he's that level of lacrosse player. But talk about a kid who plays with no ego. They went man down. He puts a pole in his
yeah,
hand.
it's a poll.
He set picks to get Marco open and his other teammates. He rode back a ball coming from the midfield once. It looked like it's unbelievable the effort that kid puts in. I was so proud of the way number 9 played because they were shutting him. And to be honest with you, they got other guys. I mean, Hogan, Chung, and Marco, and then other kids obviously
Yeah, of
stung it. And
course.
then
Yep.
Sal was great in the net. Sal played very well. I thought Santoro played well in the net.
Yes, he did. And he came up with some huge saves again when Northport came back and tied the game a couple times. He had some big saves to keep the game tied because Northport, they were never able to fully come back and take the lead in that matchup. And Sal was definitely a big reason why. And it takes a lot out of you coming back from down 7 goals. Then once you finally get there and the game is tied, but then you fall behind by 1 or 2 again, then you have to come back from that. It certainly takes a lot out of you.
Yeah, shout out to Northport though, and their grit and their coaching staff, and I think the kid Cash. I mean, the kid Cash had a really good day. Who else? Who lit up the? I noticed Cash had a bunch. Oh, the
Yeah,
O'Brien kid,
yeah. O'Brien, he was 5-2.
21, right?
Yeah, Gavin O'Brien. Yup.
Yeah, yeah, because like Delaberti only had a goal, and he's one of their studs. I thought they did a good job. I mean,
Yeah.
Hills has tremendous poles, and that's a heavyweight fight. Northport Hills, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? That's a heavyweight fight.
Yeah, those are two of the top public schools, of course, like on the island, but even beyond that, because how
Oh,
about
I would national you public school wise, if you throw the private schools out because they can recruit, you know what I mean? And
yeah,
they shouldn't even be compared to public schools. You got to live in a district to play for Hills or to play for Northport. I put Hills and Northport up against any public school in the country.
oh, they're right there for sure. They are right there.
I mean,
Remember
Northport was
North,
took it to Garden City,
I
and
was,
I
I
think
was
Garden
just about
City.
to say it. Yeah, they came into the game against Hills having beaten Garden City. And of course, everyone knows how great of a program Garden City is.
Yeah, I mean those three teams, GC, Northport, Hills, right now, I'd put those three teams publicly against anybody. Matter of fact, I'd love to see Hills, Northport, and GC play the Chaminades and St. Anthony's. I mean,
Hey, Hills and St. Anthony's, come on. You're right down the street. Make
yeah,
it
they
happen.
should play. They should play.
Make it happen.
Yeah, they should play, but they have to play this year.
Yeah, I know. Which,
You gotta play with. I mean, Rayo and Merrill are buddies. Those
yeah,
kids should battle it out, right?
yeah,
Yeah, we should get that. That'll be a good game. That'll be like a they do the fights, they do like the pay-per-view fights, Hagler
yeah,
Ernie.
yeah. That's a
Little
paper
St.
game.
Anthony's. Shaman GC. Pay-per-view, UFC. Be like WWE. What do you call those things? Rumbles.
Oh, the Royal Rumble.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it'd be like that. That'd be cool. That'd be really cool. So anyway, after Hills Northport, I mean, it doesn't slow up for us because on Thursday, right? We had 3 games we covered Thursday, right?
We did 3 games. So we'll start where you and I were at. So we were over at Harborfields versus East Islip boys over at Harborfields, and East Islip getting the win in that matchup 15-8. But they jumped out to a quick lead. They were up 6-0 after the first quarter. But Harborfields, they made that a game. They got to within one a couple of times to really show their competitiveness. But East Islip able to fend them off in the end and recapture a comfortable lead to end up winning by 7. So in that game, you had Ethan Bernardos. He scored 4 goals for EI. Jack Kalinowski, he was 4-1. Braden Black, 2-1. Jake Berlin, 1-2. Sean Hannigan, also 1-2. Drew Walendowski, 10 saves. Uh, those were definitely some of your standouts for East Islip, who, of course, they are a serious contender in Suffolk Class B, and they got a big one coming up tomorrow against their rival West Islip. But EI
Yeah,
getting that win against Harborfields. So East Islip only 2 losses on the season.
I tell you, East Islip, West Islip tomorrow night. That's a must see. If you got nothing going on at 6 o'clock, tune into the LILJ YouTube channel. Get to watch a game. Get to listen to the wonderful Ellis Joshua. Hopefully Travis is doing that game with you. Do you know who you're doing that game with?
I believe it is Travis for that game.
Travis Quigley.
That's right.
Great name. Travis Quigley. But I gotta tell you something. Just something that you want to pass on to the athletic directors around Long Island and to the schools. Something that has to change. And we saw it in a good way at Sayville. We saw it in a bad way at Harborfields. When you announce who scores goals, you got to announce it for both teams. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's the right thing to do. Either
It's
announce
100% the right thing to do. You can't announce the goals for just the home team. You have their book. I mean, it's just not, it's bad sportsmanship. I mean, at the end of the day, this is high school sports. We're promoting kids and we care about the educational component to this. Let's do the right thing. I mean, they read the Section 11 and Section 8 code of conduct before every game, right?
Yup.
They talk about sportsmanship, being nice to the refs and to your opponents. That's all good. But don't read the code and then only announce your goals.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a really good point that you made at the game. And shout out to the East Islip parents because
They were great. They
yeah,
were great.
yeah, they were taking matters into their own hands and announcing each time someone scored for their team, and also giving the assists as well, which that's another thing we talk about because some venues
Yes.
don't announce the assist.
That
Um,
drives me
but
crazy. You know that. That drives
yeah,
me
I
crazy.
I know, I know. I'm,
You
I'm
know
right,
what? And
I'm right there with you.
maybe it's because I was more of an assist guy than a goal scorer. So maybe I'm a little biased to the assist. But you can have a goal without an assist. You cannot have an assist without a goal. So that tells you something.
Right.
Okay. And that mom, by the way, had a great voice. She could be a great announcer. I don't know who it
Yes.
was.
I don't
If
know
you're
either.
if you're listening to this podcast, we have a job for you. You could work with Ellis Joshua on the LILJ because she was great and she knew every kid, didn't have to look in any program. She was a great mom. Shout out to you, Mom. You did a great job. And shout out to Tommy Zumo and his team. He's got a great team. He does a great job coaching those kids. Timmy Cox coaching the defense. Very, very good team. I'm very excited. I got to be honest. I'm very excited for tomorrow night's game. I'm looking forward to that game. It's West Islip, East Islip, at East Islip Middle School. We'll be streaming it, but if you're in the area, come by and support the boys. Um, going to be a doozy. Those two teams are high-level teams. So good luck to
Yeah.
both. That's another Lions, the West Islip Lions. There you go. Lions,
Yep.
that you need to use that lion logo when you post up about this podcast because a lot of lions going on in this podcast.
Oh yeah. That's the theme. That's the theme of this podcast.
It
Um,
definitely is the theme, and we're only on to the Middle Country Riverhead game. Another shout out to calling Verizon and getting better internet out in Newfield High School because, but I mean,
center reach. This one was at center reach.
it was at Center Reach. I apologize.
Yeah.
We got to do something. I mean, you guys all have football programs. I mean, what are we talking about adding to the budget? $49 a month? You know what I mean? Come on.
No, it's a huge it's beneficial. It's very beneficial if they get quality internet.
Yeah, let the whole world know about Giambone and Saparo, about Bagnasco and DeFridas. Those four girls had great days. If you don't
Yeah,
have internet, we can't let the world know.
yeah, I know. I know. That was very, very frustrating. But we still stream the game, so the game can be found on our YouTube channel at the Long Island Lacrosse Journal. And yeah, Middle Country getting the win over Riverhead. 9-6 was your score in a Class A battle. And for for Middle Country, gotta give a quick shout out to their goalie, Ava Sapparo, only a freshman, but she entered that game with 93 saves on the season, and she had a 10 save performance. So she's now eclipsed the 100 save mark in her
Let's
freshman
go.
season. So that's a huge deal, and that's a major milestone. So shout out to Ava Sapparo.
Only as a freshman. Good job, Abe. Then where was Jack that day? He was covering his alma mater getting their butts kicked.
Well, it looked like it was a game at first, and they actually had a lead. We're talking about Babylon Smithtown West, that is over at Babylon High School. Um, so I was following along on the stories, and it looked like Babylon, at least early,
It
they
was
had
like 8-7 or 8-8 or something.
well, even earlier than that. I think they were up 2-0, and then I think maybe 4-2. But then at one point, when I was tapping through the stories, I saw that Smithtown West, they were up 12-6 and they ended up winning the game 12-8. So so Jack did not see his alma mater win that matchup, but he was there, boots on the ground, covering that game. And in that game for Smithtown West, Peter Bonifant, he had a 7-point day, 4-3. So shout out to Pete. Also Patrick Hyland, 3 goals. Cole German, 3 goals, 1 assist. Luke Brown with some really good defense. I saw Jack, he got a couple of nice clips on the Instagram stories of Luke Brown playing some lockdown defense and a caused turnover. And those were your POGs in that matchup.
That was Thursday, triple header. The LILJ was all over the place, and we only covered one game on Friday, but boy, was that a doozy.
It was. That's one of those games that a lot of people had circled on their calendars, including us, of course. And that was Bayport and Sayville girls in Sayville. Of course, a rematch of your county championship from last year in Suffolk Class C. And we live streamed that one. And that was a lot of fun doing that game from outside in the bleachers. That was a cool experience. Second time that we've done a game outside of the press box this season. So that was a lot of fun. And I was working with Kevin on the call there for that matchup. But that one lived up to the billing, I would say. And those two teams, they showed you why right now you have to figure they're your top two teams in Class C, at least going into the playoffs, just based on past experience and the way that they played in this contest. And another 1 goal game. This one going to the Phantoms. 11-10 was your score. But they were up by 4, actually. That was their largest lead. But Sayville and igniting a comeback, but just not enough time in the end. So Bayport getting the win, and looks like they're going to be your top seed at the moment.
Yep, that's true. It looks like Bayport's the one, Sayville, depending on, again, they still got 2 weeks to go in the season, so it could change.
Yep.
Um, Bayport is playing without Emma Brown, the Stanford commit, but the girls that are stepping in, the young guns, they're doing a great job defensively. Diaz doing a great job in the net. Mine and Eisfeld are the difference right now with Bayport. That's why I give them a slight edge on Sayville, because those are two senior, in my opinion, All-Americans that are playing like All-Americans. And they're igniting the team both offensively, defensively, and then arguably one of the top 27s coming off the island, Olivia Brady.
Yeah.
I mean, Olivia Brady is
We
the real deal.
yeah,
Is the real deal.
we can talk about her all day. Just seeing her really blossom and flourish on varsity. And that game for Bayport, that was their biggest game of the season to date right now. When you're going up against the reigning Class C state champions, and Brady, she had a hat trick in that matchup. One play where, well, she had a couple of really nice plays. She had the 1 goal, which was just a highlight reel finish, a sick finish in front of the cage. That was one of her 3 goals, but the one I'm talking about in particular was off the turnover when she took it coast to coast and scored. She showed on that play just why she's a phenomenal athlete, like beyond just being a great lacrosse player, a really good athlete. So Olivia Brady, she's really a do-it-all player for the Phantoms, and of course going to be one of the top recruits in the 2027 class.
Yeah. We'll talk about the 27 class when we get into the playoffs as these kids start going through the process. But there's plenty of 26s out there that are still not committed. We talked about Meg Langton, who's I mean, she can play anywhere the way she plays, the starting defender over at St. Anthony's. So we'll be getting these kids' names out there and hopefully the college coaches. I mean, some of the college coaches' seasons are over. So I wouldn't be surprised to see a few on these sidelines over the next couple of weeks, right?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, and again, you just
So
missed.
that was Friday night. And then Saturday, we decided to change it up a little bit, huh?
Yeah, we did. We did. We took our coverage to the collegiate level for some big ECC Championship games up at Mercy University. I got to get used to that because I'm used to it being Mercy College, of course. But Mercy University over in Dobbs Ferry, New York. And we had a doubleheader between the Molloy Lions and the Mercy Mavericks, both the boys and the girls. And we were treated to a couple of great games yesterday morning and afternoon. So we I think we made the right call, Coach Wink. I think it's definitely safe to say, based on how those games turned out.
Well, I think the audience needs to know if you want to go on to the Mercy Mavs and Molloy websites and look at the men's and women's rosters. Out of, I'm not exaggerating this, I swear. If there's between the four rosters, if there's 100 kids, 95 of them are from Long Island.
Yeah, so many Long Island players on both teams.
You know what was awesome about it? Every time I looked down at my roster, it was another kid we covered last year, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 4 years ago in high school. And they did not, I mean, Molloy came away with the girls win 15-13, great game.
Yep.
The Oceanside kid, how do you say her last name? Rugolo?
Rugolo. Megan
Rugolo.
Rugolo.
She had 8 goals, one
Yeah,
assist.
she had a heck of a day.
Woo, what a day. Got to see this kid play. And then the Huntington kid, who we also covered, a Morrison,
Yep, Alexa Morrison.
she also had a huge day.
Yep.
So those two kids were the POGs on the girls' side. We got to cover them. And then they put an hour on the clock. So Ellis and I went back to the car to chill out and kind of get a little shade. It was beautiful. It was hot. It was supposed to rain, but it was like 80 degrees. We were sweltering. A buddy of mine who lives around the corner came and was shooting the shit with us and we're just talking. And then all of a sudden, the boys' game starts, and oh God, what a game!
How about the energy from the crowd and for both games, but for the boys' game, it was taken to another level. The place was
Yeah,
packed.
it was so crowded at this facility. Um, the fans were a little, maybe they just had too much tailgating going on, and I'll give them that excuse because they did get a little rowdy. They got a little rowdy.
They did, but they knew what was at stake. You're playing
Yeah,
for
they
the
were.
ECC
It's true.
Championship.
Those two teams don't like each other, right?
Yeah, it's more than just a game, especially when it's
Yeah,
those
it's a
two.
rivalry game.
Yeah, and you're playing for the ECC championship. So
Yeah, you're getting
every
a nod to the NCAA tournament.
right, right.
So the Molloy Lion boys and girls haven't been to the tournament in a while.
Yeah, it's been a minute.
Yeah, I don't know if the boys have ever been. Well, I have to ask. I don't even know. But to be fair, the girls are in now. The boys are playing. That game was back and forth. What was it? 3-0 Molloy to start.
Yeah, 3-0 Molloy. They led by as many as five. They were up 7-2 at one point. That was their biggest lead. So
Yeah, but Mercy didn't go away. Mercy was
no,
not going away.
no, they didn't. I think I think just based on the way the game started, I think Mercy, they had a lot of turnovers, some unforced ones as well. So they weren't playing their cleanest game. And Molloy, they were able to take advantage of that. But like you said, Mercy didn't go away, which you figured they wouldn't. You figured they would come back and make that a game and kind of keep it hanging in the balance in the end. And we were in store for a dramatic finish. So we ended up going Instagram live for the end of the fourth quarter because the Mavs, they were down by one. It was 10-9, and they came out of a timeout and they ended up scoring the game-tying goal. It was Shane Roach with 13 seconds on the clock. He tied the game up at 10, and that ended up forcing OT. And in overtime, I don't think I've seen a team as fired up as I saw the Molloy Lions when they ended up winning that game. So we just got to give the breakdown, though, of how it happened because Mercy, they were looking to clear the ball up to their offense. Cam Dorfman, he had possession and then just ended up being a turnover. Just kind of a tough play. Looked like he was trying to kind of split the defense, but ended up losing the ball, and Molloy picks it up. And it ends up leading to basically an empty net goal because Dorfman, he didn't have enough time to get back into the cage. And it was Luke Hickam, who's actually from Oceanside, by the way. Of course, the Long Island connections all over the place in this matchup. He scored the game winner, which was his second goal of the game. And after that, that just sent Molloy into a complete frenzy. I mean, we talked about how about all the helmets on the field, everyone tossing up their helmets. There's helmets all over the turf, and they were just so fired up, storming the field, running to their fan base. It was just an electric scene when Molloy ended up winning that game.
It was bedlam. That's what I call it.
Yes.
Bedlam.
Yes, it was. It truly was.
Like, did you see the fans? There were a couple of like college kids jumped over the fence. They ran on the field. The Molloy Lions came over hugging their parents and their family, and it was so nice to see, because Coach Dunn, shout out to Coach Dunn, after New York Tech closed, he didn't coach for a year or two, and then he got the Molloy job. I think he's been there 3 or 4 years, and he's turned the Molloy Lions into a NCAA. I mean, they're going to be a top seed going into it. And shout out to those kids. Obviously, we know them pretty well, being all Long Island kids. They practice so hard and they put in so much work. So shout out to Molloy for getting the win. And the MVP was Christian Michaels, the goalie from Kings Park,
Yeah.
which was really cool. And you could tell it was a very emotional. Oh, and it was Christian's birthday.
Yeah,
the
it was.
Birthday.
Yep.
Who was the MVP. So
What a way to celebrate your birthday.
Yeah, it was kind of storybook when you really think about it.
Yes. Yes. And he stood on his head in that game.
Yeah, he made some really good saves. He made one play. I saw you got it on social where he picked a pass off.
Mm.
The other Kings Park kid was number 2.
Yep. Brian Green.
He had a big day.
He had 5.
But I got to tell you something. I thought the best kid on the field was Liam Taylor. Number 38, right? Was he the pole number 38?
Yep, the pole 38. Liam Taylor.
Shoreham Wading River kid. He must have had 8 ground balls, 4 caused turnovers, cleared the ball, kind of organized. Their defense played well. Mercy's got some talented kids. Obviously, we know them all. I strongly suggest, for those of you out there that don't know anything about these two schools you should look at if you want to stay close to home.
Yes, 100%.
Wonderful, wonderful experience for anybody that was there, win or lose. It was a really electric day, and I'm really glad that Ellis had the idea to go up there and cover those games, and it was awesome. It really was awesome. I enjoyed it immensely, and I thank both those schools, boys and girls. Coach Sachs from Mercy, the head coach, she lives on Long Island. She went to Lynbrook. She went to Adelphi. She's got Long Island roots. Obviously, lives here still. Pretty, really cool day. So, thanks, guys, and thank you, Mercy, for doing a great job hosting that event.
Yeah, definitely. But we're gonna run out of time here, so that's gonna do it for this edition of the Weekly Crossbar. Ellis Joshua and Coach Wink signing off, and we'll talk to you all next week.